Yes, communication, one of my favorite topics. I have 6 tips for you on how to be a better communicator. They are: be clear and concise, be a good listener, be empathetic, be consistent, be proactive, and be open to feedback. We will talk about these 6 today with more practical advices for you on how to practice them. Communication is one of the most important skills as a leader. It is about how we talk to people, which we do as leaders. I know some of you might find it scary. It can be, while others think it's super fun to talk to people. Talking to people as a leader, though, has to be effective. And that's what I'm going to teach you about today. My name is GLEHAGO. I have 20 years of experience as a leader in both Europe and in Asia, leading both small and large-scale teams. And I'm here to share more tips so you can become a better version of yourself as a leader. Remember, although we're talking about leadership skills here, the advice that I'm going to give to you today is applicable in your day-to-day life as well. Communication is key to achieving our goals. It helps us build relationships with stakeholders. It helps us to communicate with our teams about the goals that we want to achieve, and it drives the success of our organizations. But how do you communicate more effectively? First, be clear and concise. Avoid using technical jargon or difficult to understand language. Your message should be easy to understand, and your stakeholders should be able to grasp it quickly. So in order to help you with that, just use simple day-to-day language. No abbreviations. No super difficult lingo that you have taught yourself by reading the dictionary. Do not overcomplicate communication. If you're in doubt about how you communicate, try to practice by using this simple exercise. Explain a topic that you want to tell your team and do it to a 5-year-old or your grandma if you have one, or your parents, and see if they understand what you mean. Preferably do this exercise with someone who is not in your line of work. That helps. It is a fun little exercise that you can practice at the dinner table, when you're out with friends, or with colleagues in the office. Try to just think about when people ask you, what do you do? And what does it mean to be a leader in your organization? Give it a try. 2, be a good listener. This is important. You were created with 2 ears and 1 mouth. The saying goes that you need to listen twice as much as you speak. So the next time you're interacting with your team or with your stakeholders, try to listen. Ask questions instead of making statements on your own. Try to understand what's important to them. The act of asking questions is something you should be able to practice in everyday life. So whenever you have an interaction with someone, try and ask them questions. It will bring you into the habit of asking more questions, even when you're at work. 3, this is an important one. Be empathetic. But what does it mean to be empathetic? It's a word that gets thrown around so much. It essentially means that you understand the person that you're talking to. Try to put yourself in their shoes. Think about a team member who has struggles at home, someone who is ill, someone who can't pay their bills. Try to put yourself in their situation and see how you would feel. Once you start understanding how the other person feels that you're communicating with, then you can start being empathetic to what they're experiencing, and then you can start helping them. I do understand that this is more difficult to practice, but one of my favorite ways to doing it is looking down, don't look up. What that means is look to people who have less than you. So when you go out on your next restaurant visit and you're splurging money for food and drinks, try and look at those who don't have the same fortune you have. Once you do that, you'll start to understand what it might be to be in their shoes for a day. All right, that was 3 down. We have 3 more to go. But before I go into those, try and share in the comments field below a leader that you have had in your past who was a great listener or really empathetic. Share a brief story of how you saw them as a leader to you. And if you like this content, please help me by sharing it with others who you feel would benefit. Smash the like button below because I've heard it helps the algorithm spread this out to more people. And subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this. Now, let's get back to the remaining 3 tips. 4th, be consistent. Communication should be consistent across all channels, at all environments, and to all people that you interact with. When you are consistent as a leader, it helps you build trust with others. And it also ensures that everybody is on the same page. Consistency in your communication style means that no matter if you're talking to your team members, your peers, or your leaders, you are sharing the same views, visions, statements across all those. This also means that it's much better that you're true to your own self as a leader. Don't try to be someone you're not. Because if you're thinking about being someone you're not, depending on who you speak to, you're gonna confuse everybody. And most important, you're gonna confuse yourself. So please just be yourself. It helps you stay consistent. For the exercise on this one, try and think about a message where you were inconsistent, where you said one thing to your leader and another thing to your team member. And think about why you did it. 5, or the 5th one, be proactive. Don't wait for problems to become huge before you communicate them. Keep your stakeholders engaged and always informed about progress that you're making, things that are popping up as challenges within your team, or progress you're making on your milestones. By keeping everybody informed about progress, it can help others see you as a leader who has things under control. You know what you're doing, you know what's happening, and no one has to ask you what's going on. If you're in a contact center environment like me, it is a lot better for you as a leader to come share, hey, we are struggling on our service levels, or we are not meeting our KPIs, and here's why. Sharing that when it happens, instead of 5 days later when there's a weekly performance update and your leader start asking you. So for the exercise on this one, think about the most recent challenge that occurred in your team. Who did you inform and when did you inform them? More importantly, did the people you informed need to know? Was it critical for them? In order to help you on this exercise, I prefer to use the important urgency matrix that you can see on your screen here. So if something is of high importance and it's very urgent, then obviously that should be informed. But think about your stakeholder. Maybe what's urgent and important to you is not urgent and important to them. So that is coming back to our earlier recommendation on understanding and listening to the stakeholders. What's important to them, so you can apply your communication style to something that's suitable for them. All right, final one, the 6th one. Be open to feedback. Communication is a two-way street, and you should always be willing to receive feedback. Feedback will help you grow and develop as a leader. When someone tells you what you can become better at, when they give you constructive feedback, you can start applying it into action for you and your own growth going forward. This also means that there's a scary exercise for you. You need to ask your leader and your team members and your peers what you can do better to be a better leader for your team members, to be a better employee for your leader, and to be a better colleague to your peers. Make it a habit of asking questions to get feedback to yourself. Referencing our earlier suggestion or tip on asking for feedback, you need to listen to feedback so you can apply it into lessons learned for you, so you can become a better version of yourself. For the exercise here, it's really as simple as asking anybody around you. If you're listening to this and you have a meeting later with your team, ask your team, how do I become a better leader for you? What would you need me to change? What do you need me to do differently? The next time you have a catch-up with your leader, ask him or her how you can become a better employee. And lastly, ask your friends or your family members, how do you become a better friend to them? How do you become a better daughter or son to your parents? If you ask them, you'll gain feedback and you'll know what to do. Effective communication is an essential part of leadership. By following these 6 simple steps, you can become a more effective communicator with your team, your peers, and your senior stakeholders, your leaders, and those around you, even if that is friends and family members alike. So what are you waiting for? Let's go out and communicate like champions. But remember one thing, every beginning is difficult. It is truly important that you take time to practice these 6 steps in order to become a more effective communicator. And I do encourage you to watch this video on public speaking and how to become better at that. It has a lot of great tips on how to be a more effective communicator, and I think you'll like it. My name is Glenn Berkelev. This is GLEHAGO. Thank you for wanting to become a better version of yourself, and thank you for listening. I will see you in the next video.